Yo yo and welcome back. Today I'm gonna do a pull request review of Manu's second task. I'm a bit nervous. I don't know. He always has surprises in it for me. That's always like, my blood pressure is going to explode again. So let's see. I'm glad he's not around. I guess there will be a lot of ranting going on in this video. I can already sense it. Just a quick usual tea this morning. It's again my mushroom tea, my reishi, which I found in the forest. Yeah, really good stuff, but I think to get through those, I found a few kilograms, so it takes a while to get through that one. I definitely have to switch soon. I already feel it. It's a bit much. But yeah, this stuff is healthy, so at least it won't kill me. So this is the repo. The repo Manu created. And you can already see I was a bit mean. I deleted his main branch. Because if you want a pull request review, then goddammit make a pull request and don't just send me a freaking repo. Yeah, you know. No, it's just... I try to exaggerate a bit, but that's how people feel. You know, you tell someone, please review my code, and you give them a repo, and you're like, yeah, it makes life so much harder. You know, could also just make a pull request, a freaking pull request. Otherwise, I cannot keep track of my stuff. Okay, that's why I was so kind and did one for Manu. That was done pretty quickly. This is already always something which got me nervous when I quickly saw it when I prepped this. 2,700, but there's a poetry log file in it. Log files are always big, so I don't expect it to be that big, but everything beyond 250 is usually, or 200. Some companies do. I think Facebook does 200 or something like it. It's always like, need to look then really thorough and piece things together in my mind, and the human is just, or I am not capable of doing that so easily, so it takes much more time. It's more like an exponential curve time you need with lines of code. At some point also you cannot handle it anymore. It's impossible. But it's okay. One good thing though is the CI pipeline went through. Which is pretty nice, so I don't have to look too thoroughly on those parts. That's what I really like about pull requests. I already can check this one out. Okay, then here we go. Let's look into the files. I also want to say I will now check the files, but afterwards I will check the user experience too, and see what Manu has for surprises in for me. So yeah. You can expect a lot of fun there. So I would need someone to massage me a bit to relax sometimes when I do this stuff. So here we start. It's just a flake config file like usual. He even stole that from me. But he's missing a new line here. And the reason why this is important, I said it before, is some tools, they always need a new line. And when you just have here, basically what here is end of file. So there's no new line, and some tools then don't parse or process the last line. I think here it's not a case, but still, it's just such a good practice to never do that. Always new line stuff. So that's it. So this one's done. That's nice. Now this is the CI/CD pipeline. I will just quickly look over it. I think Python 3.10 is fine. Still, some libraries he has, I think 3.11 is not supported and by a lot of libraries yet, so that is pretty good. And yeah, he just basically stole the pipeline from before. That looks all fine. I mean, it ran through. So this is also a bit how I speed things up sometimes, you know. I don't want to go too thorough on stuff which seems to work out. And I just kind of always look for a bit the more obvious parts. This looks fine, for example. such triggers and if conditions are usually a pain in the soft part of our body. It caches stuff. It looks pretty okay. I must say also with these release pipelines, you can look over them, but usually you miss stuff if you don't run them. And you can do that also a bit as a part of a PR sometimes to do a pre-release or whatever. But if you took the file from somewhere else where it worked previously, I would expect them now that it works now too. So that is why I don't care too much about this, and just check mark it. If the release is done in the end and the pipeline breaks, which I had myself quite a lot of times, it's okay. You can just, fix it during the release cycle. That's okay. You do it once and afterwards it's fine. So don't be afraid to break stuff and all that stuff doesn't go perfectly well and is not super during the release. I had days where I deleted, I don't know, the tag 10 or version tag 10 or 15 times on GitHub and then recreated it because stuff was not so fine. Yeah. Okay, this is the git ignore. One thing I'm never really happy about this git ignore stuff is, he uses a predefined one, which is fine. But there's always so much clutter in which, he has no shared object libraries, I'm pretty sure of it. You should usually narrow it down onto what you really need. But okay, this is a hobby project, so I won't go hard on him there too. This is pretty fast today. I'm quite surprised. Let's see if we can keep up the pace. User experience will be much, much crazier though. So he added the VS Code settings file. This is a dangerous spot. It always depends a bit on how your team is set up. When everyone has a different editor, then it's always, I wouldn't edit. But he knows I use VS Code 2 mostly, so I would leave it. Why I accept it also is you see here, he basically put in which linter, which formatter to use, and also that Flake 8 and that stuff here is used for the project. And this is pretty good because this is kind of like a project setup. So if other developers also use VS Code and take the repository, they basically have everything configured the right way, also with formatting and that stuff. It's a matter of taste. If you don't like it, then you have all the rights to not include the settings files. Okay, so remind that. Please add another new line. The good old new line. I think we will see that a few times now that it has started. So bracket. That's it. Okay, then he chose an MIT license. Super. Anyone can use this stuff if he ever wants to. We will figure that out if anyone would ever want to use a CLI. Okay, so this is the README. If you get a repo for the first time like this, really read it line by line if you do a pull request review. There's stuff, for example, which I really dislike already, is if you write Markdown text to make it better reviewable, make one line per sentence. It pieces it together anyway in the end, when it's rendered. So it makes reviewing much easier, even though you're not hitting the line limit, but it's just, you edit this one sentence and then it doesn't, it's more compact in the PRs and all of that stuff. And also, the lines don't get exceeded so easily. So it's pretty a good recommendation. It's not a must-have as long as you stick to line length. But still, let's write him a nice message. I had a great experience so far with 1 line per sentence in Markdown. What do you think about it? It makes reviews much easier. Yeah. So here, once again, I try to be more suggestive. Sometimes I forget myself a bit when I have strong opinions about stuff. Yeah, you cannot force people to do anything. It's their choice. It's their PR. Maybe as a technical lead or something, you can overrule them, but that's not nice. You should never have to use force. There are other means to resolve conflicts, and yeah, starting a discussion and asking people what they think at least tasks them with think about it, and then they are free to go from there on anyway. And if you have a good team, they will thoroughly take it into their heart. And sometimes I'm also happy that people don't do what I do or want them to do, because it adds diversity to the code base, which is a healthy feature, funnily. Okay. Then I find it funny because he writes here the purpose is to build a proper CLI using the GitHub API. Proper is really cocky. Because the GitHub has already a CLI. I'm not sure if I told him. And it's a really good one. It's a really, really good one. I can show it later. But it's basically in the GitHub CLI is GH. And you can do a lot of stuff, like I usually create my PRs in the command line and stuff with it. And also you can trigger API endpoints with this. It's a really good CLI. And he's a bit, if he wouldn't know that, he wouldn't write proper. Yeah, okay. Create a Python program. Data. Add the following comments. Okay, he's writing down basically what I wrote in the specifics. That's okay. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, what I like is if it's just a training exercise to write it down and then write down the task description. Super. I mean, everyone who comes to the repo will immediately understand why he did what and what the purpose of all of this is. Yeah. So here we come, long markdown lines again. This repository uses poetry to install dependencies and task file to execute the most basic functionality. After, he misses a link to task. If you tell people to install something and they don't have a link, Jesus Christ, where they might end up. Some very odd websites. So I'm really not happy about this. No, I just need to figure out. The one thing I really miss in here is I don't see a line limit of 80 or something. I really have no clue if this line is now too long, which is pretty annoying. But okay. I will comment. Please add a link if users need to install something. Otherwise, who knows where they end up. Yeah, the internet is a big place. Yeah, here we go again, long lines, Jesus Christ. This line is a tiny bit too too long. And there's another thing. He doesn't need 3 triple quotes here. You know what? I will simply... This is not perfect, but I will simply crop it for him a bit. So... Zack. Okay, so you see it's already much better. This one I'm still not happy about, but it's fine. So let's get further. Yeah, reviewing readmes can be not fun for a lot of people, but just take it relaxed, you know. I must say I'm also eager currently. I really feel myself wanting to get to the code, but I'm like, because it's important, you know, these things really make life also easier, and we often just want to code, but there's a lot more to software development than doing this. I already see, oh, wow, this is a rage, like, how could he forget that letter? Like I said, I have some colleagues which are like, this is not proper English, we cannot, this is not okay. It's always quite funny. So, little correction. Available. I guess it was late again. Sometimes when you see the PRs, you know exactly when they happen. Yeah, I mean, we do this stuff next to our jobs, and most of the time we have to do it after work. And yeah, some days you should not do it. I have that often, you know, you code the whole day and then you code in the evening, and it's just, nah. After 1,000 push-ups, it just doesn't work anymore. Doing more push-ups. Okay. This is fine. He does it. Okay, he just shows his commands. That's fine. He wouldn't have to do this, and it also easily gets outdated, but I know he will never touch this anymore. So you see, use a bit of feeling. Many I would know would say, what if a new command gets added, it doesn't get automatically updated, blah, 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 blah. But use feeling, and my feeling tells me at the moment, he will never touch this repo really after having done the exercise. So it's fine. He will never edit these commands, and even if one gets a little bit adapted or a new one added, it's just an example. So I wouldn't be mean about it. Yeah. So you see, today I'm the relaxed senior developer for a change, at least until the user experience. That's where I really usually become a different person. Ah, Jesus Christ. Okay, so one problematic thing I see here already is he recommends to run the CLI like this, and I already get a heart attack in multiple ways. Jesus Christ. For a non-Christian, I mention Jesus often, I see. Poetry run Python is okay, but then he runs the CLI file where he defined the CLI, and then he sets the status. Okay, this is okay for development, but this is not okay for users. Also, he has a little typo here. I will add here the comment. This is a command for development. Please state this explicitly. You can also make the CLI available. I'm not sure how he... Yeah, we will see in a pyproject.toml, how it's available for the users if they install this package. We will see about that later. Okay, here's a link to the documentation. This is always very mean, but does it work? It works. Okay, fair point. That's always a good part to check some links. I often have this if people post links in or something and it never works because it wasn't uploaded yet or some other reasons, you know, it's always nice. Okay, this is the task file. I quickly go through it. The install is okay, no root, black, flag 8 and pylint, like I designed it originally. That's okay, coverage is okay. Important is always check the file paths in case they screwed up. But there's the SBOM, okay, that is fine. File path correct. Okay, these are the commands which already give me, oh geez, oh nee, oh come on. Okay, we get to that later. I need a sip. Holy camole, that's gonna be fun. Thing is, I'm really not happy about the user experience. I just needed half a second to see that I'm not happy about this at all. But okay, we go about it. Here comes our little new line friend again. Oi. Okay. I don't want too much. Struggling. I'm always happy that I get paid really highly for adding new lines or stuff like this. It's so ridiculously funny if you think about it sometimes. Okay, frequently asked questions. Okay, that's actually quite pleasant that he changed those, I think. Why did I create this awesome program? Okay, that's cool. So at this point, I won't tell him anymore why I did this, but he knows already. Yeah. He's quite enraged. If you read it, he was really not happy about GraphQL because for everyone who did the task already, the difficult part, if you didn't do it, it requires you to use the GraphQL API from GitHub to solve it, and it's its own thing. And yeah, I can feel it. You know, the first time GraphQL and that stuff, it's really not too pleasant. But they have a good editor online where you can try it out. And through that, it's, for me at least, fairly easy once you figure that out. But of course, if you don't never check the documentation, you're screwed like hell. No. So, yeah, CA really had a good piece of fun. Okay. Yeah. Why should I change my status to drinking tea and emoji? Yeah, of course, because it's the best thing. Whatever you have on doesn't matter. So, little suggestion. Sometimes we need to add some words, otherwise it gets a bit too dry. Okay, then do I need an API key? Yes, you will need a GitHub API access token. Easily created here. I really like that he adds a link. That's super. By the way, for those who don't know, GitHub always flames me because the H needs to be big. That's why it was red a second ago. Yeah, really good. Now, there's even one thing more that you can do is if you go to this page, oh, I never knew this one. It's always good to come back here after a while. So if you come here, you can then flag these things here like repo. And what you can do though is, I must say I need to look up how it exactly is done through links, but you can put them into URL so people click on it and they have already all the access rights set the way they need to in order to use the CLI. Because what's currently unclear from this one here is he tells you to create a token, but a token cannot do everything. The scopes need to be defined what you can do. Can you, for example, delete packages or whatever other crazy stuff, you know? So it's quite important usually that you very well define the scopes, because also users should never use a token. Like I would never use a token with a CLI I don't trust, which has, for example, delete repo. Yeah. But even just write access to my repo is already giving me goosebumps if I don't know what the program really does and how trustworthy it is. The GitHub CLI, for example, I can trust blindly, but it also, it does a fairly good job at stuff. And with other people, like, I don't know if Manu has some delete repo hook inside for me. I wouldn't be surprised just to check if I really check his code. Okay. It's quite helpful to look a bit over this. I must say it was never really the best how they designed this part, because the scopes changed quite a lot over time, but of course the solution also grew. So be aware of that. What just nags me is currently how I can define the scopes in the URL. Too bad, I really forgot this. And it's also not really documented, I think. Let me quickly test something. Nah, it's too much of a blind shot. I will most definitely look this up or recommend him to look this up. Very cool that you added a link here. I know you can already set the access rights needed also in the link above as URL parameters, but I could not remember how. Check it out. Then users just need to click the link and they have the right token scopes right away. These are little things which make life really nice. And in the end, you do this for the user. So that's super. Upsala. Okay. So we're done with this file too. That's good. Wait. Okay. I didn't tag a few files here. The docs.index.md is empty. Okay. Guess he doesn't write anything in there. Quick start guide. Okay. I'm really happy because he did one good thing, which happens to me often, which I don't do, is he copied stuff from another project, but he really went through it. I have yet to find a file where he didn't adapt it, and this is really good sign. Such an easy mistake to be done and not see it. Yeah. Yeah, this is really creepy. I would rather expect something like python -m pip install. Yeah, the thing is, this is a bit creepy because he kind of installs it like this, but then recommends the task file or however to use it. Yeah, this is, and then the command. Here we go. Perfect. Okay. It's just a bit odd that he also refers to a task file. I mean, it's nice that he refers to the task file to show some commands. I think that's quite helpful for people who need some starter. And if you screwed up the user experience like before, they definitely will. No, that's not that bad, but it's bad. Yeah, no. Okay. I don't think this is needed here. What does your feeling tell you? He will say, it is needed. Okay, source code. Okay, this is the source code map. That's fine. But we can maybe check the docs later if there's something even published from him. I mean, it doesn't make sense to make a source code map, to be honest, when you have a CLI. For what, you know? But okay. This is the MK docs. I already checked it before. It's fine. And it works. So here's the famous poetry log file with 1,800 changes. We're getting through quicker finally after this text embargo there. Okay, so he used Typer. That's really nice. He used the GitHub package. That's also nice. Yeah, that looks like a fairly good choice of packages, actually. What I'm just confused now is the GitHub package allows you to interact with the API, from my knowledge, but why is he using the request module? Ah, for the GraphQL. Okay, yeah, most of the APIs, it's so funny. They GraphQL is just so customized that you cannot so easily. It kind of like the classical JSON REST API endpoints of the GitHub API. They're quite different from the GraphQL. The GraphQL is of course so customizable, every request, that it's really hard to build a common interface. And many libraries then they just offer one, and of course they don't offer the GraphQL endpoint too. So okay, this pretty good. I understood it. Okay, so let's get into the first function. Get user form input. Okay. Oh Jesus Christ, what did I get myself into? It's a little typo. My eyes are really glaring at the code. Method use in app commands to get the user from user input. Okay. Okay, I'll leave my sensors are already exploding. And I mean my user experience sensors, but we get to that later. Okay, so he basically then returns. I'm not sure if this is even the right format for. This is strange. What docstring format is this? Can you check, please? Usually I would check it, but I'm in a video and it would take too long. So I don't want to annoy you guys and ladies. Yeah. So that's fine. Okay, let's get into code. Yeah, okay. He gets a user input, of course, in some function, always. And then he has some error handling. Yeah, he, of course, doesn't want it to be empty. He doesn't want it to be short. Where does, why too short? I'm really confused. Where does this come from? Does GitHub forbid too short names? Because I don't know. I mean, it already checks if it's empty, and if it's too short, it's their own user's fault for typing senseless stuff. Like in the Forrest Gump movie, I think it was like, I'm not sure how it is in English, but vaguely translated from German, it was like, you don't, you do silly stuff, then of course you get silly output and wrong behavior. Like if you write a tool, user experience level number 1, if you do something and it's quite obvious what to do, and people really on purpose go the wrong way, that's their own fault, and I will for sure not spend hours of programming to protect them from their own silliness of going a direction they were told not to go. Bit strong opinion and words, but otherwise you start losing a lot of time on user experience features which no one will ever need, just to keep the stray sheep in bound. Okay, then he uses this get GitHub token. He initiates the session. He searches for the user. Okay, he searches for the user. Okay, this is odd. The thing is, this is odd for 2 reasons. First of all, he searches for a user. Why does he search for the user? I mean, he tries to get the user here, and if it doesn't come back, it's obvious that the user isn't there. So what he basically does is, it feels a bit like he does 2 API calls for one. Like he could do this in one. And I'm usually not too nagging a lot about inefficiencies, but API calls are extremely expensive. I mean, the API of GitHub has even rate limits established, so you don't hammer on it. So you cannot request, I don't know, too frequently per second and also per hour. So every API call must really count, since it's so thoroughly limited. So yeah, not too happy about this. Like, I will definitely have to suggest him to fix that. Why do you do you do 2 API calls here? Doesn't the lower one suffice? Since if it fails, the user is obviously missing. Just saying, cause API calls to the GitHub API are extremely expensive. And I know that because I use that from time to time, the API, and yeah, you just really cannot hammer it. It's okay here because it's a CLI, no one would bother. But it's still bad practice if you can make one call, because it's not, for myself, I don't care if I do inefficiencies in my world, but those people offer something in a really goodwill in such a sense, not entirely. GitHub is not, as it cites, of course, of business too, but what I just want to say is an open API is pretty rare without API keys, and even with API keys, you should really do your best to not stomp it into the ground. Otherwise, they remove it, and yeah, you have bigger problems, or they raise the limits, which is also not what I want. Okay, here comes the first command. Count stars. Yeah, what a beautiful name. Ay. Okay. I'm still not sure about this format here, but I'll leave that. I already mentioned it before. Because in the right format, if you use the Google style format, I think you don't even have to specify the parameters here. In the NumPy doc format, you have to. So, but this doesn't look like NumPy doc. That is why I think he doesn't use a right format. I think he combined two formats in a wrong way. But okay, we get to that. I mentioned it before, and he has to do some work about that. Okay, one strange thing about this is the user experience. He has an argument JSON format. What is this? Like, what the heck? I mean, you have a command and sometimes you want the output. That's why I wrote it. You want it readable for human, but sometimes you have a tool in the back which wants to parse that. So you pipe it into another tool. The reason for that is then that usually you add an output option like format. Okay, so you can change the format, but maybe someday someone comes around and wants a YAML file output. Okay, so what he does now, he added a boolean JSON format, which is because what if I want now a YAML format output all of a sudden, you know? And there are already two types of output, basically text or normal and JSON. So it doesn't make sense to make this a boolean. What makes more sense is to make this an enum, obviously a string enum or an enum really. Yeah, I will definitely write him count stars. I'm also super unhappy with this command, count stars. Like I think just stars would be enough. Yeah. Two things. From my feeling, just stars would be enough for the command. Secondly, the output toggle is a bit creepy. Since what if I want to add a YAML output in the future? I would rather prefer something like an enum. Pew, 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 pew. Okay. Okay, that's good. And I really did poorly here in such a sense that what do you think? Or what does your feeling tell you? Except that I'm slowly hungry. No, but the thing is, sometimes I get too bossy too. And yeah, because the thing is, what's being wrong, not what's wrong, but what can be improved is being told you by your ego. But your ego may not come out in the moment you formulate these things, because you will search for connection here, and your ego is basically the embodiment of separation between you and other things. So it's always good to use ego as a sensor to tell you what's wrong in these code parts and all of that, to go basically enraging. That's how you find stuff, but then to shed it in the moment where you put it out. Okay. Counts the stars of a specified user and give a nice comment to the user. Okay. Yeah, not the most beautiful description on the planet, but we can live with that. Uses typer echo for output. I know it's to standard error, so that's fine. You never want to output logging output to standard out, always to standard error. It's really one of those things people learn much later on in their developer experience. The reason is standard out is usually piped from one program into another in pipelines and stuff like this. And standard error is usually just ignored. And standard error, when you log the stuff for just reading, for me, to the standard error, I can toss it away and just use the outputs later still, even though there were warnings or messages. So it's really cool. Repositories, okay. I really like that he uses the GitHub package. I must really say that to him here. Like that you use the GitHub package. Because many people would just trigger the API themselves. And I mean, if there's a library, use it. Why not? You know, super. What I'm not happy though about is this one here. This is, I later have to tell him about the structure, but what I really dislike is, again, he has a side effect in this lower function. And for testing this thing, I can already tell you he didn't test it. Let's quickly check if there's a testing. No, there is a testing file. Okay, I'm curious because this is screwed up for testing. So let's see. So there's star count. Then he basically goes into the through the repositories. Okay. Yeah, okay. So he goes in and counts the stars, obviously. There are two things which I always like with stuff like this is, first of all, a bit of space. Just to structure things. And another thing I really like is, so this is a block basically. Here we can already make a skip. And here, if you have it outputted here, you can also just return, because then you can remove this indent block here. Oh Jesus, this is gonna be... My German comes out when I need to count here. It's funny. Okay, it's 4 actually. Okay, then I need to eradicate one more here. Yeah. So you will see in a second how not much nicer it looks like. Ah, return star count. Okay. Then I guess I need to also do that up here. Yeah, okay, that's not so nice, I must say. Now you see I tried something and it didn't work out as I expected. The else was still fine. The if and else, that he basically runs the else block here. So I will quickly cancel this. But this is a part of, you see, programming in general. To put this out like this, give things a bit of space, please. This is still polite. I don't need to ask him about this. But this is already good enough. So I always dislike that it puts space here. That's really annoying. Because otherwise I would have to reduplicate the return statement and that would not be really better, in my opinion, from my feeling. In this way, it's really just if else, and then it's fine. So that's good. Next one. Oh, we get to a private function for a change. That's nice. Star count, repository count. Okay, that's the rating function basically he uses for printing out. Yeah, here. Let's see what he has in mind for us. Yeah. Yeah, we all started small. 100 stars is nice for private repositories, especially. I mean, I have a lot of organizations created and stuff, but I figured out they don't count to me. Most people don't even know that they are mine. So it's quite funny because I think I have a few hundred stars if I count them together already. Not that it matters really, you know, but it's just funny. But we will see later how good I am. Okay, I really like that. That's fun. Fun is always cool. So, tuck. Next one gets specified. Okay, get details. I mean, get details of what? The function name is really not specific enough. Also some, not camel case, snake case is welcome. For example, get current user details, because we get the details of the currently authenticated user. Yeah. Okay, so we need to go in here. I had a suggestion from him before, where I have to correct this here. Wait, I should write that down. Otherwise he's confused. I recommended did this correction above too. Okay, so he wants user details. Jesus Christ. Name equals username. Why? For whatever reason he does that. I'm not sure if it makes him happier. But we'll see in a second. The bio, the repo count. He kind of collects a lot of stuff. Okay, he collects all the data. I like this. I really like that. This is so not good practice, but he collects all the data, and it's a bit dangerous because there are also API calls behind it, I guess. And then he just on occasion prints the raw, and all of these API calls were for nothing. And otherwise, he basically does this. Yeah. You can rearrange this so that you print raw above directly and don't do all the other statements and toss their result away. Reason is, I believe they also do API calls, which can be avoided. So I'm pretty sure about this one, so I don't go too crazy about it. Okay, and otherwise he just prints out a lot of fun. Okay, that's fine. Life is like this. It's gonna be a really long video. Did not expect it to be that crazy. So set status. Oh Jesus Christ. Oh man. I need to. How do I communicate this? Maybe I communicate this a bit verbose this time. Set status is really not telling what it does. Jesus. this is now a user. The reason why I just need a pause is this is a user experience question again. Set status is a command, and you could do this now in multiple ways. You could have multiple statuses you can set. One is drinking tea. Maybe one is also clearing. It's not in the task, but it might be reasonable to make a clear command too. So because otherwise this is not nice, you know, like set status. Especially since it sets the status to something. One solution. I give him one solution. Just he needs to work it out himself because I want also him to learn by himself. One solution would be to offer multiple commands such as status clear and status t. I think that would be a reasonable user interface, for example. So you just have the status command and then you can run clear or t. Okay. And what I really also like about the status command, by the way, would be, I think the GitHub CLI doesn't have it because it does. I need to check, but I don't think it has it. Need more tea. This is taking more energy than I thought. Okay. So this is again a user experience thing, and I really don't get why timer does not require to return bools, does it? Okay, I really need to check, but I have no clue. Also, why do you return in a CLI command? Is there a reason why you return in a CLI command a boolean or above also other results? To my knowledge, this is not needed. Okay, I had a little bit of doubt here because I would have to read the docs quickly, which I won't do in the video. But I'm 95% sure that this is not, you don't need to return here anything. It doesn't make any sense. It's a CLI command. Usually what you return is an exit command or something like it, but it should already be handled by typer. So no, it should be fine. Okay. Yeah, he basically checks here how stuff goes. By the way, this is really nice how he did it. I like it. He got the token here, perhaps quickly the request. It's totally fine. This one could be moved out into somewhere above, but I know some people like it to have it as a for code locality in the function. It's not an efficiency too efficient. It's not about too much about efficiency in this program because it's a CLI. So I'm totally fine with this. I would really say for a CLI, locality is better if you don't hammer this out. If you run an API code and you have this in the function, that's not good. Then I would put it above because then otherwise this gets instantiated all the time. But this way I really like it. Okay. Mutation failed. It's funny because I don't know, is there a zombie? Yeah. Mutation is such a funny name. Never heard that in an output ever. Okay, we're slowly getting to the end. I'm quite happy because this has already been exhausting. Like I would usually need already a break from this, but I'll push through. Okay, this is the get GitHub token. I'm really not happy how he does all this authentication stuff or whatsoever. It's just nee. Okay. Yeah, you already see I'm getting more tired. That's why it's always dangerous to do big PRs in one set or to even push out big PRs to people. And when people get tired, they get naggy, especially if stuff comes again and again and again and again. Yeah. Okay, a bit more space. He gets an angel. Okay. Let's quickly see if it's set as an environment variable. Ah, man. Okay, now I understand it. So he checks if it the GitHub token is set as this environment variable, which is the oddest environment variable I've ever seen in such a sense of... the thing is, tools really important. Tools like Git, tools like GitHub, and they kind of have standard ways how to put a token. And I know it from the GitHub CLI. They just use a GitHub token. And if someone else does it like this, which is already a standard basically in the industry, you should follow it. He doesn't know it. That's okay then, that he does the TNT. X2 is maybe a bit too much. TNT GitHub token would already be fine enough. So there's no name collision. But if there's already other tools using it, because then in the same CLI or in the same console, I could run the GitHub CLI with the GitHub token and at the same time also run my CLI. So it's all perfectly set up through one environment variable. So I will quickly let him know that. The GitHub CLI uses the name GitHub token. We should follow the same so that both are set up in the same way. Okay, and otherwise he prints out the stuff to standard error. Okay, he uses no typer here, no typer. The thing is, he does output managing through print and through typer, but he should just stick to one of both. Try to stick to either typer for output or print. Especially, usually you would use a logger anyway, but yeah. Switching different logging frameworks is always a bit... because it's prone to... something will always happen or get logged in a way that it's not supposed to or is missing or whatever. I'm also not happy about this one again. This please enter your API key now thing. And for the reason I'm not happy about it is, once again, we have this side effect here. I must say I would rearrange this whole code. But it's an exercise, so I'm fine. But I think I will do another video and rearrange this code and show you how I improved it and make a PR to Manu as a proposal, because I think the rearrangement, it's hard for me currently to even describe how I would rearrange this all, because it would be so dramatically different. Not dramatically, but quite different. And describing it in words is much harder than in code. So before I slam him into the ground, I rather make a PR on this PR to show him what I suggest and he can accept it or not. Okay, so he basically does this API key thing that he asks for it is not okay, and if he has it, he returns it. That's good. This is how it's often done, and all fine. Okay, cool. So we have this. Whew. Oh, I already sweating like hell. Okay. So then he does the testing. He basically mocks the get token and here the request post. Okay, this is really creepy what he does here. Okay, he just wants back a 200 basically, and whatever is sent out, he just sends back a 200. I just don't get this one, API mock return value. What does this do? Ah, this is for the token, I think. Can you maybe make that more explicit? I think he emulates the GitHub token through that, which is good, because also you should check in your fake API requests in the tests if the token is right. But definitely you should make that quite obvious. Okay, so I'm quite happy he did some testing. This is not much, but at least something. I'm happy you added some tests. More coverage would be nice, but I know you tested it a lot manually. Manually, like Manu. Manually, so for the beginning, this works fine. You see, also, again, a little bit of feeling. He does one file, and I could slam him into ground saying, coverage be below 80%. But I know he tested the code a lot manually. I would though expect if someone comes later and edits a function and there's no unit tests covering it, to widen that scope, because then it would be untested again. But that is a bit a skill thing, like that you have a feeling for this to understand that also untested code is fine if it was tested manually. Okay, so we have the test done. Good to know. I'm sure he could have a much easier life there too if he would have followed some advice with the rearranging the structure a bit better, but that's okay. So please add a new line. Add some emojis. I always like it. Just gives it a bit better taste. Okay, so this is the review generally. Now comes the bigger comment which I want to make, but for that, the code is mostly fine. I think he did a fine job with the solution. I think he did a really poor job with the user experience though, to say it a bit harsh. And we'll see now quickly how it looks like. Okay, so he said he has this task command set up like task stars. By the way, I already set up my token so you guys don't see it. What I really dislike is already, yeah, I mean the user experience is really poor in such a sense. You don't ask for this one and then print it out afterwards. For what? You could just print this user has 5 stars and 4 repositories or something, you know. So this is also, you see when you review code, user experience does not really, it's harder to grasp it. That's why really, when you want to review user experience, you need to test it. So let's see how the stars JSON looks like. And I'm already annoyed by the next thing is this user typing in. Like, why the heck? This is cool output, by the way. Perfect. I can also show you how it's piped usually before I continue ranting. So you can use JQ, for example, extracting the username. What? that is such a cardinal sin that it's not on my laptop. But I set it up not too long ago again. So, of course, my developer tools are a bit missing. JQ. I did a mistake, but you can pause it in and then continue it. Okay, what I really dislike with this username stuff is, okay, I have a CLI command or script. Yeah, so let's run just this one here. I run it, and already I don't get a help command, which I'm really dissatisfied. Okay, so I will make a list quickly for Manu. Otherwise, I will never be able to piece this together. My user experience. First, give him a good feedback. Generally, the code is fine. A bit an odd structure, but otherwise nothing big to say about it. Keep it up, man. Regarding the user experience, I have a few ideas to improve it. Okay, so the first thing is the root command needs to print out a help message because there are subcommands inside of it, and I will never run this. And it's just really annoying because you run the root command, you get an error, the first thing you type afterwards is help. So it just makes sense, and I know Typer has the option to do that. So the root command should display help by default. Okay, so now we see all the commands here. And I already tell you set status is, for example, such a horrible name, as I said before. But the more cardinal sin here is when I run now this command, for example, set status. Let's make it details. He asks me for the user, which is super annoying as hell. Because when I understand this code correctly, if I type it now here, it says got unexpected argument. But this is, I mean, this is how I would expect the user experience to work. So this is super silly that he expects it from the user input. It makes no sense. He expects it from the command line, actually. This is where he needs to fetch it from. And also, the next screw up is, he doesn't even need to ask it. And I can tell you exactly why. He has my token, so he already knows who I am. So, or rather, through the token, if I just run this command here, for example, I don't specify a user. So by default, he should know that he should just check my own user from whom the token is. I would make this argument here optional. And through that, the user, you could specify a user if you want to, but you don't have to, okay? And this is why I designed the task a bit, because I knew some of you will wrongly design the API experience, or the CLI experience, rather said. And this is exactly not what I wanted. And I did it on purpose, that you kind of made it a bit fuzzy, that I triggered it, that it was wrong now. Not wrong, but a poor user experience to just put it blindly. Okay. So the root command should display help. The user should be a command argument and should be an optional command argument, since through the token by default we already know the user. And we could still then allow specifying other users to check. most importantly, it really must be a command line argument and no input in between. No input between, or no input as a second step. Okay. So this is really important flaw I already discovered. The names are really not that good. Sometimes you cannot. Don't be honest. One thing people also do wrong is always be kind and caution you and whatsoever. It's okay, but if it's not good, it's not good. You know. I expect two things. Not good means I don't attack you, and I also expect people on the other side. If you have a good connection to those people, you can say that because they know all you want for them is for them to grow and to improve because you really appreciate and love them the way they are, and you do this for them. And when you have that connection, there is no personal attack behind it, so you can actually really say that it's not good what you did. Okay. The good part, the difficult part though, is if you lose people through that communication, then you attack. It is perceived as an attack on them, and then you lose it. It will not get in anymore. So really use a lot of feeling. I know Manu and me, we have been tight like hell, so I can toss out. He knows that I really appreciate him. So this is not worrying me, but always be mindful when you do this. I just also want to encourage people, be direct. Be direct in a kind way, but be direct. Saying, yeah, great results, and it's not great results, that's even worse because you're lying to someone and you're not expressing your true feelings, and it's important that you express your true feelings, otherwise it will pile up and you will explode. Okay, so back to business. So I'm really not happy about that one. So I will restructure that in the next PR. Set status. I think I will quickly outline him maybe how I would do it. Here's my outline recommendation. Why did I do this? Okay. I would simply do stars and then optional username. Same for, I would not make user detail words. I just user and optional username. And then I would make status. And there I would allow two commands, subcommands actually. One is clear and one is T, and that's it. Maybe we can even make it like this. T or clear. Okay. And that would already be a pretty good layout, and then you would be fine. So I'm really happy he screwed up so badly. So he gave me the option and possibility to explain to you a bit what's so important about the user experience from that sense. So another thing is I really dislike this help message of set status. This is horrible. Definitely also need to do something about it. The help message of set status requires improvement, because what he also did was he didn't check how these looks like. He just added comments to the functions. For 2 it worked out, for this one it didn't. yeah, the other ones, it could be a bit more text and stuff, but it's okay. I don't go too crazy about stuff like this too much. If the commands are nicely lined out and stuff like this, then it's fine. Okay, so we got through it. That was a really long, very exhausting video. I'll definitely take a break and then make a PR on this PR to show what I would really like to see and improve it, because that is what you do for bigger stuff. Yeah. There's a lot to be done, eh? My God. Thank you very much for sticking with me. This has been quite a journey. I hope you learned quite a lot about it, especially about the user experience part. Next time I will definitely do that rather in the beginning. So that, because it's at the core of the tool, so checking the user experience might be a better start than checking the code actually. Yeah, and see you to the next video where I will quickly outline what I made up as a structure for myself as a recommendation to Manu. So thank you very much. Subscribe and like if you like it. And yeah, see you soon.